All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Gridiron Uncensored podcast. We are sorry that we took a week off, but hey, it's week 5. We're right back in it. And some more crazy stuff has happened. So we're going to go ahead and talk about some picks and get in on this week action. Pretty solid week, honestly. I know last week even people said it was light, but again, chaos has been going down. Thursday, Friday, real quick, just mention a couple of the games. Army and Temple. Army's undefeated, and they're on a pretty solid run. I'm kind of impressed with that Army team right now. Especially their passing attack out of nowhere. Virginia Tech, Miami is also on Friday. Miami's got a 20-point spread here. Virginia Tech, obviously not exactly what we thought they were going to be coming into this year, but maybe they catch Miami sleeping. We'll see. And then Washington Rutgers, also a Friday night game. That one is a 2.5 point favorite and Rutgers favorite. So I think that'll be an interesting one, but I think Rutgers might smash them. If it's anything like last week, Friday night had crazy games with Nebraska, Illinois, a couple others. It was fun, so much fun to watch. So I'm hoping this week is the same. Gents, let's go ahead, get into some pick 'em, unless you got anything to talk about those Thursday and Friday night games.
No.
All right. I'm open for some chaos again. Kansas State, Oklahoma State. Kansas State's currently a 4.5 point favorite. This is one where they're both kind of reeling right now. I feel like Oklahoma State, how do they rebound? They lost to a Utah team that didn't have Cam Rising. They got ran down. They ran the ball right down their throat. I don't know what's going on with them with all the talent that they brought back. But we did kind of mention that in preseason too, is like, hey, just because they're bringing back all this stuff doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good production. So that's kind of coming true. Kansas State on the other side, embarrassed by BYU last week. It was like a 5-minute stretch of just stupidity, kick returns, fumbles, everything in between. How do they rebound? And really, can they get the passing game going with Avery Johnson? Those are my questions going into this one. Again, 4.5 point favorite for Kansas State. What do you guys think?
Well,
here we go.
We'll just, we're just going to say it. It's Okie State. Okie State's gonna take this one. I don't have confidence in KSU. That being said, though, Okie State's kind of coming off of a very much, I would say, disappointing outing. And I feel like that one thing about Okie State is that they usually don't have 2 bad weeks in a row.
Yeah,
they usually,
true.
If they have a bad week, they come back even stronger the next week. Usually. Doesn't always happen that way, but most of the time that's usually their MO. If they have a really bad week performance-wise, they generally come out swinging the following week.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I didn't think about that. Blake, what about you?
I mean, these two teams, they're kind of the inverse of each other. Kansas State, they've got a pretty solid ground attack, whereas Oklahoma State, they're all through the air. And I just feel like Kansas State, I don't know what my expectation really was for them as far as passing the ball this year, but on the ground, I mean, they've got a really good running game, and coming back at home, I like Kansas State in the game. I mean, both of these teams though are in a must win. Like they've got to get something going because like Oklahoma State, they pulled out the Arkansas win, but they struggled a lot of that game, and it was really self-inflicted on Arkansas's part that they lost that game. And I feel the same way kind of about the BYU Kansas State game last week. I feel like Kansas State just mentally wasn't in that game. They didn't look like it. And then the turnovers, just I feel like a lot of self-inflicted things happened to them in that game. Yeah. And I feel like they're going to clean it up. And when it comes to a game being determined by a solid run offense against a team that's a solid pass offense, I lean the run every time. So that's why I'm leaning Kansas State.
Yeah, I'm honestly with you. And last week, BYU they only had 92 rush yards on them. They only had 149 passing yards on Kansas State. It was just the craziness that happened. that turned the tides there, and Avery Johnson didn't have a good outing with 2 interceptions. So for me, with Oklahoma State, they've really given up a lot on the ground. Last week, Utah torched them. I'm gonna go Kansas State myself, but I feel like this is such a toss up because both teams have just kind of been on and off, But I'm going Kansas State. I feel like you got to lean on Giddens and Edward and let Avery Johnson just run. This dude's a talented runner as well. If he can protect the football and they keep chewing away the clock, they keep getting run yards, I think they'll win this game. So that's where I'm leaning. And Ollie Gordon's been pretty much nothing for Oklahoma State this year, which has really shocked me after the year they had and the offensive line they brought back. So if they turn that on, Oklahoma State probably gets the win, but we shall see. Gents, next game, Wisconsin, USC. I picked this one for the group for the pick 'em, not necessarily because obviously the spread's 15.5 in favor of USC, but I'm curious to see if USC can rebound after last week's tough loss to Michigan, and if Wisconsin can run the ball on them the way Michigan did. Braden Loxton at quarterback for Wisconsin, so that's a concern. But obviously, it didn't matter last week with Orji only throwing the ball 7 times. So curious to see Wisconsin if they can rebound from losing to Alabama, but also how does USC respond? So that's my thoughts on that one. Gentlemen, what are your feelings on this game?
I feel like 15.5 is a little bit much.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a bit ridiculous.
I'm there with you.
I don't know. I mean, USC didn't show me a ton. I mean, they definitely moved the ball on a very good defense in Michigan, but not very efficiently, I felt like.
Yeah.
And I mean, Wisconsin isn't Michigan by any stretch of the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that Michigan punched USC in the mouth, and I feel like they're just going to keep getting punched. And we're about to find out how strong of a team USC really has to go through the Big Ten and everything like that, because we just don't know. Like, and the same kind of goes to like talking about Oklahoma doing an SEC schedule. We'll see how they can really hold up and if they can even hang with that kind of grueling schedule. It's kind of the same kind of thought process for me. In this case, I'm gonna pick USC, but if I was someone that was putting money on this, I would bet money that Wisconsin would cover the spread.
Okay.
If I was to do with that, I do not think that they're going to win by over 2 touchdowns.
I could see that. Blake, what do you think?
I've been wrong before, so there's that.
Well, I'm actually the other way. I think they will cover this. I heard an interesting stat about the Michigan game. It was on the radio, so I'm not sure who it was that was saying it, but they had said that Michigan had 43 rushes against USC, and only 3 of them mattered. And so I know they had the couple big runs, especially the one there at the end. But I mean, going off of that, like I didn't get to watch the game. We was on our anniversary, But just going off that stat, it sounded like USC had kind of held the rushing game at bay somewhat. Maybe I could be wrong about that. I didn't get to watch it, like I said. But if that's the case, like I said, I don't know what his parameters were for holding them at bay. If it was like 10-yard rushes or whatever.
Yeah.
But offensively, So y'all know more about that one than I do. But offensively,
All I know is in the first half they were broaching 150 yards on the ground.
Yeah,
Michigan was.
Yeah.
So with the game against Michigan, USC, obviously Michigan had no passing threat last week. They didn't. I don't think they actually tried because when Orji came in against whoever it was the week before in relief, their formations were different. There was more spread, more opportunity for passing. This one, it was very tight game. Like they didn't let Orji do anything out wide. It was hey, if you're going to throw it, it better be good or throw that shit away.
Yeah, they
And then
100%
leaned on the
challenged
run.
the USC defense in this game to see
Yeah.
basically say like man up and stop us. And for the
Yes.
most part, they didn't. But I mean, they did stop them a few different times with there was some turnovers, some bonehead stuff. But
And
I would say
really,
that they did okay, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
Their defensive adjustments in the second half were very good for
Yes.
USC.
Yeah, I caught the fourth quarter, and I felt like they stopped Michigan fairly well in the fourth until, with like a minute or 2 minutes to go when he broke that
Yeah.
like 65 or whatever yard run.
When he put on his cape
But,
and took the Trojans.
Yeah,
Yeah. So for
did
me,
what he had to
USC,
do.
Did what he had to do. Yeah.
They stepped up in the second half for sure, but they still gave up 290 on the ground.
Yeah.
And even before that, they were getting 6 yards of carry, 5 yards of carry at times. Sometimes, I mean, they were stuffing them. That's going to happen, when you're playing that close in a pistol set,
Right.
even heavy eye,
And pretty much being predictable for majority of the game. I mean, Michigan
Yeah.
was very, very, very predictable.
So that was my
Right.
thing on it. And when you're talking about Wisconsin, Ches Malusi, he's a good running back. But again, they don't really have a passing threat. I'm curious to see what sets they come out in, and if they're just going to ram it down their throat like Michigan tried to do. Because eventually something might break if they're poor tackling, like they had moments of poor tackling, or just gaps. Edwards found a couple gaps. Even on the one he fumbled, it was like a 7-yard carry, and they punched it out. It was a beautiful punch out by the defense, but. Either way, I think USC has an opportunity to win this game. Obviously, it's just I'm curious to see really what Wisconsin does offensively. Go ahead, Blake, though. Sorry to jump in.
No, that was it. I pick USC, and I think they'll cover this game. I think they're trying to prove a point here.
You're probably right. I would see that.
I agree. I think USC is better than maybe what people are giving them credit for. I know I mentioned that the USC LSU game, we weren't really going to learn too much about each other. They did solid against Michigan, considering how dominant Michigan's front four were, and they were just dropping back the entire game. Michigan did miss a couple of interceptions, I thought, on their back end. But I think Miller Moss is a fine quarterback. I think they're probably going to tear up Wisconsin's defense because I don't know what they're going to do. They let Milroe throw deep on them. So, I mean, Miller Moss, I think, is pretty accurate quarterback. So.
He was actually a very impressive quarterback, I felt like.
Yeah. So I got USC in this one. I think they're just going to be a little too much. But I want to see what Wisconsin does and if they can answer the call after a rough Bama outing. But yeah, next one, boys, Louisville, Notre Dame. This one is very interesting to me. Notre Dame, can they get a fast start? They've struggled against MAC teams. They go out and beat the hell out of Purdue. I don't know what to think about them. Can Riley Leonard throw a touchdown? You know who has more passing touchdowns than Riley Leonard? Alex fucking Orgy. Yeah, and he's thrown like 10 passes this year. So that's something I want to see. What's Notre Dame actually doing? And then Louisville, get a rushing ability. I didn't see that much from them before. You're going to have to be able to run to move the clock and move the chains too. That's my thoughts. And keep Shug, upright. Don't let their defense get after them too much. What do you guys think on this game? Who's winning?
What I think is that until Freeman is no longer the head coach at Notre Dame, I will pick the opposite team. Because he has the talent. There is no doubt in my mind that he has all the talent in the world on that team that he could ever ask for. It's just the guy does not know how to develop one and to apparently game plan for whichever team. It's like a blanket game plan. And he just kind of goes in and just expects the athletes and the talent to win him all the games. Yeah. So with all that being said, I just think that Notre Dame is going to beat themselves, and the coaching staff is going to overthink and not do what they should be doing, and give Louisville all of the opportunities to beat them at home. And I think that'll happen.
So Trev's
I can see it. we put a lot of faith in, no, not us, but a lot of people. They put a lot of faith in Notre Dame after that Purdue win, but
Yeah.
Purdue is just not good.
They're
Yeah,
not.
they're just not a good team.
This is really
And
the first. Well, not maybe not the first test, but I mean, Louisville's a decent team, and I think we'll find out if Notre Dame can put
well,
together a game plan that makes sense.
one interesting stat about Freeman is at home since he's been at Notre Dame, he's 3-1 against ranked teams at home.
Okay.
So he seems to lose games like Marshall, Northern Illinois. I don't know if it's a motivation factor or if it's just he doesn't know how to coach. I don't know what he's doing.
I would lean
But-
towards he just doesn't know how to get his teams up for the smaller games.
Yeah, but I mean he's went on the road and won some big games. He's beaten some big teams at home.
Yeah.
But my problem is it's inconsistent. And Riley Leonard's play has been inconsistent.
Yeah, that's been
Louisville,
that's
however,
been probably one of the biggest surprises. I feel like
it's true. But Louisville's been very consistent.
Mhm.
And I know they don't really have a rushing attack, but they haven't needed it really.
Yeah.
And they've done it's been there when they've needed it, but it's not like an overwhelming facet of their offense, which their coach is
it's Jeff Brom,
he's gonna put the ball in the air.
Yeah.
So look how bad Purdue got after Brom left Purdue. I mean that to me just speaks the talent that he has as a coach.
Yeah.
So he's been in this situation before. He's played these big games like this, and he knows how to handle it.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to factor down to the players, and I think Louisville walks in.
To be perfect, and to be kind of frank, and not to be throwing shade to Purdue, but at the end of the day, Louisville's talent pool is much better than Purdue's will ever be.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, with him being as good of a quality coach, I think Louisville has all the intangibles right now to go into South Bend and get that win.
Well, it's going to be a good battle between transfer quarterbacks.
Yeah, it will.
You're right. I just think Louisville's got the better one in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's honestly remarkable when I look at Notre Dame's schedule again. They lose to Northern Illinois, and then they struggle with Miami, Ohio for most of that game. Yeah. They did pull away at the end, but Purdue in the middle just gets railed. I mean, that's the definition of getting screwed. So, I mean, I don't know. This Notre Dame team's strange. I'm going to go with Louisville because they seem a little bit more consistent. I know they have not played the talent or like the talented schedule, whatever. Georgia Tech's not bad. Haynes King still moved the ball on them well, but they won 31-19, and I don't know. I think Louisville's going to find a way to pull it out. It scares me that we're all picking the same teams
again.
Well, the thing is, though, is like Notre Dame, and if Notre Dame blew Louisville out of the water, I would not be shocked in the slightest because they have the talent. They're stacked on paper. I mean, some people had them in the playoffs. I mean, they're a good team. Yeah, it's just they're very inconsistent, and you don't know which one you're going to get. And I can't put my faith in a team like that because every time I do, I get screwed. I did it for 3 weeks with Florida State, and the week I don't pick Florida State wins. So I mean, it's like
that's fair.
I'm not gonna do that.
Absolutely fair, bro. And I agree. And we mentioned that preseason too. We don't trust Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame, so they're not in my playoff picture. It's just not. I can't trust them. Show me something. Maybe if you win this game in a convincing fashion, maybe I'll change my mind on this season, but we'll see. So all of us rocking with Louisville on this one. Next one, Oklahoma, Auburn. This was an interesting one. We had Oklahoma last week. They got thumped, in a way by Tennessee. Defensively, they had a solid outing. Offensively, they benched their quarterback, Jackson Arnold. They're sailing his ass away. So even the coach,
get him out of there.
There goes any chance of me thinking he was going to be a solid quarterback. Well,
he's done.
He's
so
awful.
now he got Hawkins Jr. in, and he's the guy. How does he set up? Apparently, he ran most of the time last game. He was the leading rusher and passer. So it's like, again, Jackson Arnold was almost that same way. Can Oklahoma get a running game going? I don't think they can. Defensively, they need to be locked down. They need to be solid, but they need some support from that offense. Auburn last week, they had benched Peyton Thorne. He came back in to try and save the day against Arkansas. It's just I don't know what the hell's going on at Auburn, but they still score points somehow. I don't know, gentlemen. Interesting game here.
Both of these teams are a train wreck. And I never thought, I do think that Auburn is a train wreck most years, but Oklahoma hasn't been a train wreck really until recent. Yeah. That's more of a recent thing. And I don't even, honestly, I'm still kind of tossed up at this point.
Yeah.
This is by far the hardest game for me to pick out of the whole list of games because both teams are playing terrible football. On the lines, they're playing bad, and quarterback play is horrible. Maybe special teams is good. I think I haven't really paid much attention to the special teams, but maybe
battle of the defenses, man.
Battle of the defenses that are somewhat okay, but they're on the field so much you can't really see what their really true potential is if they have a functioning offense on the other side. So I think you know what? I'm just gonna wing it and go Auburn. They got a little bit more continuity going on at Auburn than they do at Oklahoma right now.
Yeah, mind you, this is a 2.5 point spread in favor of Oklahoma. They're on the road. But yeah, I think either one could win it. Blake, what do you think?
So most of Oklahoma's issues was at quarterback. And I felt like against Tennessee, they left a lot on the field to be had. I mean, there was some opportunities there that they just did not capitalize on because of poor quarterback play. Yeah. Arnold could not hit open receivers. That drops very crucial passes that could have extended drives, but he was throwing high most of the night. And offensive line play, I mean, it wasn't the greatest, but it also wasn't awful. I mean, he had time to stand in the pocket and make throws. He just wasn't doing it. They did struggle on the ground, but once they brought in the other quarterback, they did move the football and they did score.
Yeah.
And defensively, I felt like Oklahoma played a solid game. Again, it was kind of similar to what I was saying about see a minute ago. Like they held them when it was needed, but the offense just didn't, produce the points necessary. Tennessee's a very flashy, high-powered offense, and I mean, they held them to what, 3-4 field goals? I mean, or 3 field goals and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for a Tennessee team that's as explosive as they are. I felt like that was pretty good. They had an opportunity to win that game, but Tennessee was just too much. Auburn, on the other hand, offensively, I don't know that they can score.
Yeah.
The thing is can Oklahoma score? I mean, Auburn's defense isn't awful, but I don't think it's as good as Oklahoma. So I'm going Oklahoma based on that. But I mean, I feel like at some point Auburn it's gonna click with them because they have a lot of talent on their team too.
Yeah.
And if it ever does click offensively with Auburn, they can put some points up because they have the talent down there. Yeah. They're a lot like Oklahoma, though. They just don't have the quarterback to really run the system.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm with you on, I think Oklahoma's going to win this game based on defense. I like their linebacker core a lot. I think they've got talent up front too. I think it's just going to come down to who makes the most mistakes. And
because there will be mistakes in this game, I promise. There will be a few mistakes being done on this game.
Auburn is not a bad pick. Like I was very back and forth on this one myself. It's not a walk in the park for Oklahoma like everybody thinks.
Yeah. This is a toss-up. And even preseason, we mentioned Oklahoma's going to have struggles. They could go 6-6 or worse, depending because the schedule sucks. How was Jackson Arnold? Well, look, he's done. We all said, hey, Jackson Arnold, we don't know if we can trust this guy. He's gone. How does Hawkins do in there? He was a leading rusher last week for him. Can he, pass the ball well enough? I don't know what's going to happen quarterback wise. Like I said, Auburn benched their quarterback, Peyton Thorne a week ago, and then they brought him back in. So I really have no idea. I think it's going to be too many, whoever makes the most mistakes. So I'm going to roll with defensive side of it in Oklahoma. Team we just talked about a little bit too. Arkansas. This one's Arkansas at Texas A&M. Not at. It's kind of meeting in the middle there in Jerry world. But Texas A&M right now is a 4-point favorite, and really, it's Arkansas again getting out of their own way. Blake mentioned that earlier. They got in their own way and against Oklahoma State. Can they get out of their way? I want to see some more ball control from them. Texas A&M, they had a really tight game against Bowling Green. Bowling Green's no joke. They took freaking Penn State to the wire too. I want to see them be better on third down, eating clock. And last week really shocked me with the Texas A&M game. No turnovers that I saw, but Bowling Green was still right there. It was like Texas A&M did almost everything right, even with the new quarterback and Reed. I don't know. It's interesting to me that game was so close considering the stat line. So how does Arkansas handle that defense for Texas A&M? What do you guys think on this one?
They're gonna run right over
them. So blunt.
That's how they're gonna handle it. I do not have any confidence in Texas A&M. While I think they're a decent team, I think that Arkansas is better in especially at the quarterback position. I think Arkansas is better. Arkansas wins by a touchdown.
Okay. So you're right in saying that Reed has not had a turnover. Taylor Green has had a turnover in every game this season for Arkansas. But I still think he's a good quarterback. Texas A&M struggles to stop the run. Arkansas, it has a very good rush defense as well. A&M's offense is a run-based. I mean, they run the ball very well. It's going to be a good matchup for their run offense against Arkansas's rush defense. This is the game. This is the hardest game for me to pick. I'm very back and forth on each. I'm kind of with Trevor. Like, I like Arkansas in this game, but I don't know the A&M. If their defense can stop the run, I think A&M wins this game.
Yeah,
but I don't have the faith in them to do that because they've been very inconsistent on that. They did look good against Florida, but I don't think Florida's that good of a team. I really don't. I'm gonna go Arkansas to get this dub.
Going Arky. Man, it's tough because I agree with you. This one's a tough game to pick. Both, Texas A&M new quarterback. We were all expecting Wigman to come in and have a solid year from after his injury. What he expected, but then he's out still. Reed's in. What do you do there? And Florida's. I don't think they're a talented team. They're loaded with talent, but as a team, talent doesn't always matter. It's how do you act as a team, and obviously Florida's got issues. So I think it's a good win for Texas A&M. But when you look at it, I don't know that Bowling Green's game wears on me just a little bit. But I'm gonna change it up. I think Arkansas probably gets in their own way again, and I think Texas A&M is gonna find a way really late, like really freaking late, to win this game.
It's not a bad pick,
and I don't know. I don't really trust either one of them right now. So it's a hard one. It's a hard one for me. Blake, Trevor, both going Arkansas. I'm rocking with Texas A&M. We'll see what happens on it. Liberty, App State, and this one preseason was really one that everybody circled, Group 5 wise. But App State is really reeling right now, and I threw it on because it's still big for Liberty. Liberty has a chance with their schedule to be the Group of 5 rep. App State's been struggling run defense wise. Can they pull it together? I mean, they've been slapped in the mouth twice now. Can they figure out a way for Liberty or to knock Liberty off their shell, off their high horse, if you will, and put them down a notch. I don't know if they can. It's only a 3.5 point game, whatever the hell it's called, in favor of Liberty spread. So that one kind of surprised me a little bit. I thought Liberty might be favored more. So, boys, what do you guys think on this game? No, Group 5, App State's hurting. Want to see what you think on it.
Yeah, it's Liberty. As much as I want to pick App State and knocking them down a peg, Liberty is probably up there along with probably Memphis and a couple others as being the odds-on favorite to walk out of the Group of 5 and take it. But yeah, it's going to be Liberty. I think in this case, I think their offense is just ridiculous, and I think they're just going to overwhelm App State.
Yeah.
This is where App State plays their best football, though.
Yep. Exactly
typically.
right. This is where I eat my own words.
No, because I agree with what you said. This is a different App State. Like, there was high expectations, but the inconsistency from App State this year is just it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have not been able to just get it going on offense, especially. But Liberty, they still just roll on. I don't remember. I had the stat wrote down. I don't know where I wrote it down at, but it was about the spread in this game specifically. I think the last 4 matchups, the winner has not covered the spread in the last 3, or I think that was this game. Like I said, I had it wrote down. I don't know where I wrote it down at. Anyways, I'm gonna go Liberty. I think they roll, but Vegas knows something when they're putting the spread at 3.5.
Yeah,
or they're just afraid to give it any bigger of a spread because it's App State,
and it's at home for Apps. So
yeah.
And you get an automatic 3 points for being at home. So right there is like, well, we don't know how this is going to play out. It's a dangerous game to pick, I think. And Caden Salter, I think he's a really talented quarterback. Aguilar's a talented guy too, but he's just had some bad mistakes. And I don't know. I think Salter and them are going to run the ball again on App State because they've been struggling in that compartment. So yeah, I'm going to go Liberty on this one. It freaks me out. I feel like we're all on the same page this week. So we're either going to have a great week or we're going to be screwed. So
I think we're about to get some different picks here in a minute.
I guarantee
probably true. Probably true. All right, let's jump on to the next one. Another Group of 5, Fresno State, UNLV. UNLV is currently 1.5 point favorites. The last I saw, that line might be shifted, boys, because obviously there's been shit going down.
Yeah.
And we'd be remiss not to mention that Sulka's moving on. He's transferring. He's their starting quarterback. For those of you that aren't aware or have not seen the news, he's decided to redshirt and hit the portal. He said he might come back if things get squared away with them, but it just depends. Right now, it seems like he's leaving, and then I think their third string running back stepping off too after he's going to redshirt. So I don't know. They've been a really strong running team. Passing game with Sulka in that quarterback has not been great. So they're excited to see the Campbell transfer quarterback coming in and how he does. So what do you guys think on this game?
Fresno. Period.
God, dog.
Period.
doesn't even entertain the
idea. Period. That's it. This kind of drama is no bueno for teams that are trying to compete. Doesn't mean that they won't have a good game. I just think team that has continuity over team that is a hot mess and a half. I picked a team that's kind of got, and Fresno's a good team. Look, no doubt about it. I think Fresno's a good team. So I give them the edge. And with it being a 1.5, which it really is probably just an even split, even though Vegas doesn't do even splits ever. I think Fresno's going to come out with it.
Yeah. Blake, what are your thoughts?
Their running back system, they have 4 running backs this year that have carried the ball. And 2 of them, maybe 3 of them, are all, I think 3 have went for over 100 yards in different games, maybe all 4 of them. But I don't think it's a big hit to lose the running back. Quarterback either. He's thrown for 300 yards through 4 games. One stat line, though, that I don't like for UNLV is Fresno has beat them 3 times in a row. And that sometimes when you get in a situation like that, it's in the back of your head. I've watched it with different teams in the SEC over the years. When, you have a better team on paper, you play better throughout the season, and then you just lose to that team. I've seen it so many times over the years. And that may just be it. Fresno may be UNLV's kryptonite. I don't know. But I think it's going to be the opposite. I believe UNLV's offense will be better with the backup. Because, like you said, he hasn't really – his stats are not all that great. A lot of the damage is being done by these running backs. I mean, they've had a dominant ground game. And, but Fresno State is – they're not to play around with. I mean, they could very well go in and beat this game. And their lone loss is to Michigan on the road. I mean, they're a solid team. But I like UNLV. I think the rest of the team proves a point. I like them.
I'll say for Fresno State, I think Keeney's a good quarterback. They've got talent across the roster. We mentioned them in the preseason as well as UNLV as teams to watch out for the group of 5. Fresno State did have their coach leave right before the season, retired medically. So people were wondering how they would step in, but so far so good. I do want to see how their rushing attack, is. So far has not been great, but quarterback-wise, I think they've got a good one. UNLV, though, with Soka leaving, they lose a lot of rushing stats on this team. I know the running backs have been doing great, but he's carried them to a win on his legs. Passing-wise, I think he's only like 40%, completion rate. He's not great.
Awful passing.
But 6 passing touchdowns and 1 pick, too. So it's kind of like, okay, he's controlling the ball at least. However, he's gone. That doesn't matter anymore. What matters is how's Malik Williams coming in. He transferred in from the FCS level as well over at Campbell. And honestly, he's a pretty solid quarterback over there. People really like what he did. And he's more passing.
I believe he held the school passing record there. I believe. It's all running together on me, all the data I wrote down, but I'm pretty sure he led or owned the school record for passing at Campbell. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, I think he can pass and run. I'm leery to put my faith in a brand new starting quarterback, but part of me thinks UNLV is going to find some way to pull this out. He had, when I'm looking at his stats for Malik Williams, he's got 8,200 passing yards in his career, 58 passing touchdowns, 24 rushing touchdowns. He was the 2022 All Big Sky 13 Player of the Year, or he was on the third team, 2020, Big South Offensive Player of the Year. So, I mean, this kid's got talent. I'm going to go with UNLV. I'm shocked that I'm saying that right now, but I feel like
my worry with the UNLV pick is the rest of the team. How do they react to their quarterback and running back choosing the red shirt because of what they're claiming the school did to them? Will they play, with their heart?
According to Twitter, the it looked like he was the captain, their linebacker. He tweeted out after that happened a picture of Williams, and he was like, "Finally, I'm excited to see this happen." So
okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I don't know. We shall see. Either way, that's our group of 5 picks on this one. 2 important games when it comes down to their positioning in the playoff. Now let's get into some big games here. UGA, Alabama. Georgia is 2-point favorites on the road. Boys, your thoughts on this one? It's going to be a slugfest.
Man, I struggle with this one because I have not been the biggest fan of Carson Beck. I think that he is a product of the talent around him, not necessarily his actual talent. So I think he will be one of those guys that gets drafted somewhat high, and they'll end up being a flop, or just a perennial backup.
Mhm.
But that being said, I think that Georgia's defense is the contributing factor in this one. So I think in this particular case, it'll be a lower scoring game, I think, than most people are thinking it will be. And I think the Georgia defense is going to give Milroe problems. So I think it'll be Georgia by a field goal.
So
Yeah.
this is how I look at this game. When you compare defenses, Georgia has, in my opinion, they've got a way better secondary than it does. Up front, at times Georgia has struggled to get in the backfield on the defensive line. They did well against Kentucky. It's not a Georgia team of years past by no stretch. Not that they're not good, because they're still one of the top defenses in the nation. How will Alabama's offensive line stack up against Georgia's front four? Can they give Milroe the protection he needs to be able to play how he played against Wisconsin? Quarterback to quarterback, I think Carson Beck is a better passer. Milroe, I'm just not there to where I can say I feel like about him how Trevor feels about Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Like, until you do it consistently, it's hard for me to have faith in you. It comes down to what Jalen Milroe do we get on the field Saturday.
Yeah.
Everything I'm seeing, the players have been very passionate this week in Tuscaloosa about this game. They've been using Saban quotes about the right place out. They took offense to Georgia being favored in Bryant-Denny. I mean, so there's a lot of stuff I like in favor for Alabama, and I'm picking Alabama, by the way. But there's
yeah, I would expect you would.
I do think this is a toss-up game. I think Bama's slightly better on offense, Georgia's slightly better on defense. Where my biggest fear for Alabama is the secondary. Every single game this year, we've had receivers get behind our secondary. Those teams just have not had a quarterback that could get the ball to them, and
Right.
Georgia has a quarterback that can get the ball accurately to a receiver. That's my biggest fear. Georgia coming out and punching us in the nose, and we're playing from behind the whole game. Our offense does not work well like that.
Yeah.
We are the team that we've got to be the ones that come out, get ahead, and then control the clock and win the game. That's when our offense works the best. That's how our team works the best. Matchup wise, I can see why Georgia is favored, but I just feel like Alabama's going to pull it together and do what they need to do to win.
Yeah, look, Beck, when he played against Kentucky, was not on. It was not a great performance. Kentucky shocked me how close that game was. They should have won that game. Run defense for Georgia, they need to be stronger. I know Kentucky didn't run all over them, but they moved the ball in crucial downs. They got the big third downs when they needed to. If they had a quarterback that could, maneuver and actually throw the football decently, that's a win all day for Kentucky. And I think Bama has that in Milroe. I know he's not the most accurate guy. He makes some dumb decisions sitting back, sitting in the pocket too long. But I really think that the chaos of Milroe, the same thing we've been saying about him for the last, year and a half now, I think it's just going to be too much. And I think Bama will win this game. But I want to see Milroe be accurate on the deep ball again, like he was in Wisconsin, because he had some good shots deep. Williams is dangerous too. If that dude can just keep sending that dude on fly routes, see what happens. So I'm going to run Bama on this one. I think it's a close game, but I think Milroe does some crazy stuff with his legs like usual, and this time it helps Bama, and they win the game late. So that's where I'm running. Old Roll Tide, boys. That's where I'm going. I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be a fun one. I'll tell you that. It'll be a fun one. What's it say? The matchup predictor for ESPN's got a 66% chance that Bama wins this game. So
Holy,
that's pretty interesting to me too. I'm a little
I don't
surprised
like that.
at that number.
I don't like that. A lot of it is they're basing it off of the Kentucky game with Georgia, and I think they're putting too much into that.
It's possible.
Because we said in the preseason too that Kentucky is not a bad football team.
They're not. They're talented.
And now also Georgia was without several key players for that game as well.
That's true.
On the defensive line too. So I mean that's a contributing factor. But all season they've struggled a little bit with the run. Like when I say a little bit, I don't mean
It's not a
they've
glaring, yeah.
Right. But for Georgia, the team that we're used to seeing, it's different.
Yeah.
So my biggest fear, like I said, is the secondary at Alabama. Outside of that, I like everything else on the interior of that defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's just specifically at DB, I worry about that.
Yeah. And the other game you can look at is the Clemson game. That first half was dead on tied. It was tight.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, Clemson just couldn't do anything on offense because Georgia does have a good defense. We're not saying they don't. We're not saying it's an issue. It's just when you're looking at these big matchups, who can find a little gap. So I think it'll be close, and I think a lot of people are going to be split on this decision across the country. Let's move on. We got Illinois, Penn State next. Penn State is 19-point favorites when it comes down to it, and that one kind of surprised me just a little bit. I want to know which Penn State shows up. The one that struggled against Bowling Green, like we mentioned, who brought Texas A&M down to the wire, or does a team that just beat Kent State 56-0 or West Virginia 34-12? Which team shows up? And then Illinois, I want to see them play loose and just let it go, man. Altmaier's been on. Let that man sling it. See what happens.
Fighting the line there.
Wow.
All right.
Yep. I had a feeling
they're definitely going to cover the spread. And Penn State's going to lay an egg at home. And I think that they will have 2 interceptions in this game.
Ooh. Their defense has been playing real nice.
Yes, they have.
It really has.
I honestly like the way that Illinois has been playing this season, and I just think that Penn State is the biggest upset probably going to be this weekend in this particular scenario. They've been on the cusp of getting upset almost this entire season, minus a couple games, and they haven't really played anybody. So I mean, I guess we'll find out if Penn State's for real a little bit or not. But I pick Illinois just on the off chance that they come out and put a whooping on Penn State.
I do not like the spread in this game.
Yeah. I might put some money on this game because that's 21 points. Come on. Get out of here with that.
The spread is downright disrespectful. I mean, this is one of those games too that I struggle with because Penn State, I mean, this is what they do. They get in the top 10. I read something saying, they keep their hands on the steering wheel at 10-2. They just coast the season and then they go 10-2.
That's funny.
I mean, that's what they do. They're, that's Penn State. It is homecoming. They are at home. It's a whiteout.
Yeah.
I don't like the pick, but I like Penn State in this game. But I will be rooting for Illinois. I do not think they cover the spread though. Penn State. That's not going to happen. I think this will be a shocker here, and it would not shock me if Illinois wins the game outright. But I think Penn State just has a little bit more depth than what Illinois got, and I think they'll outlast Illinois more so than beat Illinois.
That's where I'm at with it is the depth. Illinois should have probably lost to Kansas, but their defense really stepped up, and I think their defense will make some plays this game. But I do think depth-wise, offensively, their running game, Singleton's strong. I think it'll just be a little too much. I don't think it's going to be a 19-point game, though. I think this is going to be close into the fourth, and then Penn State will find a way to ice it. So I'm going to go Penn State as well. Next game, boys, and we'll start wrapping it up. Arizona, Utah next. Interesting game. Arizona is 11-point underdogs on the road. Arizona, did they clean anything up after their bye week? Offensive, defensive, rushing performances need to get a lot better. Defensive, obviously, stopping the run. If they can't do that, they're screwed. They're done for because Utah's got a good running game. Even Cam Rising, if he's back in this one, it's going to be a tall task for an Arizona team that was struggling. But again, they had a bye week. Maybe they figure some stuff out. What do you guys think on this one before we close out?
Oh man, Arizona's still a one-trick pony, and Utah's not. And Utah's got a better quarterback, I think, just off of the course of this season. Even though I do not think that Utah has played their best ball yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they've had a very clean season. With all the adversity that they went through last year, and to come out on top most of the time, basically just off of their defense, I feel like that. I don't know. There's been some sort of fall off, or so what I'm looking for here. Some sort of, I guess, some sort of relaxation period here because they got their veteran quarterback back. So they're not having that extra stress during the game to make them. I don't know. I could be just way off. I could just be way off base, but I think it'll be Utah, but I think it will be closer than 10 points.
Without Cam Rising, I think Arizona could win this game.
Yeah.
I think they're better offensively than what Oklahoma State is. I agree with you, Trevor, about Utah has not looked right. Granted, Rising's been hurt again. Mm-hmm. That's when it comes down to one player changing the whole dynamic of your team. That's not a position you want to be in.
Yeah.
Especially, and he is a good quarterback, but he's not a quarterback to where, like if, like 08 Florida, if Tebow goes down, that's a different effect on a team. But how it completely changes the team is worrisome. So, I mean, it's hard to make a pick because I don't know if he's playing or not. But even without him, I still like Utah. I just don't like them at 11.
Yeah.
With him, I think they can cover. And I'm gonna go Utah.
Yeah, I think Bernard, if they didn't square anything away on this defensive line and stopping the run, I think Bernard's probably going to run all over Arizona.
Yeah, Kansas State did so.
Well, yeah, exactly. And if that's the case, then it's going to be the same thing. I want to see Arizona come out with some more fire and a better game plan. Because Fafita is a special talent. I really think he is. And obviously McMillan is too at wide receiver. That dude's a freaking beast, man. Like an absolute monster at wide receiver. But do they have it across the board to do it? I don't know if they will. I do think it might be, 7, 8, 9 point game. I don't know about 11, but again, that's pinching, So I'm going to go Utah on this one. I think they'll pull away just on the run game. Now, if like you mentioned, if Rising's not playing at all, okay, things change a little bit because, like you guys mentioned, I feel like they play a totally different, much more safe offense, and that they don't really let their hand get too far out in front of them. So we shall see. But that's it on our pick'em, guys. We'll get this all posted and published for those of you listening. You didn't watch the video, we'll get all that stuff posted out on our platforms. Real quick, other games to watch. There's some big ones this weekend. Interesting games as well. Michigan, Minnesota. What does Orgy do anything? BYU, Baylor. Interesting little setup there. Western Kentucky, Boston College. Western Kentucky's been on a roll with their new quarterback. Can they do the unthinkable or maybe the thinkable, what people are saying? Northern Illinois, NC State. NC State's reeling. Northern Illinois had a rough loss after beating Notre Dame. So I want to see what they do on that one. TCU, Kansas, interesting game there. Colorado, UCF. That should be a fun one. Florida State, SMU, and then Washington State, Boise State. Boise State needs to win big to keep their playoff hopes alive. So other games to look out for. Now, finally, we got the gridlocks. Gentlemen, unless you got anything on those games I mentioned, we got our gridlocks for this week. You see it on the board. I'm running with TCU. I think they beat Kansas. RIP Kansas. Your season's toast, boys. That's only a 1.5 spread, in favor of Kansas being, favored. So I'm going to go with a small one here, see if I can get back in the win column. Blake, why'd you pick Louisville?
I just don't.
That's a 6.5 point spread. Solid. That's a solid pick.
I do not have faith in Notre Dame.
Who does?
Have not seen. Yeah, I just haven't seen the consistency there, and I feel like Braum is going to go in there and make a statement with his team, and I see the consistency out of Louisville that I'm not seeing out of Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's all fair points. We mentioned obviously talking about the games earlier, but doubling down on it, Louisville is going to get that win. Trevor, Oklahoma State, feeling confident there. The 4.5 point underdogs to Kansas State.
Yeah, kind of already went over that one.
Yeah.
I just think Oklahoma State is reeling, and they're going to come out swinging after a poor performance. There was a thought that I was going to pick Illinois. There was this much. I had this much. I was going to pick Illinois, but I was like, well, whether it's 11 or
I know
4.5, it don't really matter.
Might need to redo the point structure for all.
If it's over 10.
If you go over 7-point dogs, you should get 5 points or something.
Yeah,
I agree. I think I'd say a 10-point. If you go over a 10-point spread and take the underdog and win, it's 5 points guaranteed to you.
Yeah, I'll rework that. I'll throw that in there from now on. Big spreads like that. So if you want to change last minute, you let me know. We can throw
no.
That's 10, 20 points.
Not that one. I said there was this much thought. This much thought.
I will tell you this. I like your pick. I really do. Because I'm there with you. Like I think they can do it. And I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest.
Yeah. Hey, cheers to a crazy weekend. Hopefully there's some more chaos, but not too much for our team.
I'm all out of my Seagrams. I don't know what to do.
You got a little Templeton Midnight. It's pretty good stuff. So that's it for tonight. That's all I got. Anything else, boys, round robin before we shut her down?
No, I will be doing a write-up to the keys to the game for the Bama, Georgia. We'll get it posted on Friday.
Yep, my bad. Forgot about that. We'll put that out. I'm excited to see what you got. And obviously the fans are too. So looking forward to that. We'll put all of our stuff out. We hope you guys have a great night. Make sure you share, follow, comment, all that good stuff we always tell you. Have a great night from the usual crew. Good evening.
Later.
Cheers.